Hello everyone, and welcome to a video on the Scandinavian Defense, and more specifically, how to play against it. In this video, I will be focusing on the Scandinavian Defense mainline. However, I will also be looking at all the other common responses that Black has, and what to do against them. Alright, so starting off, Scandinavian Defense comes after e4 and d5. And the only really good move that I consider here for white is to take their pawn, at which point they will most likely take back their queen. They can also play knight to f6, known as the modern defense, which I'll show you all about in a minute, but first I'm going to look at if they take with their queen. So, if they take a pawn for a queen, we will play knight to c3, we attack their queen with tempo, and the main line here is if they move the queen to a5. I will show you all about what to do here in a minute, and I'll give you a little preview. The move here is pawn to b4, known as the Lienhart Gambit, and it's extremely tricky, has a great win rate for white, and I'm going to show you all about it. But first, I'm going to show you all the other little common responses that Black has. First off, when their queen is on d5 here, we attack it with our knight, obviously, but they do not have to move it to a5. They can also move it to d6 or to d8, which are both very legitimate options for Black. For both of these moves, I'll show queen to d8 for our purposes, but for both of these moves, we're going to play about the same setup. We will move our pawn to d4, we will play knight to f3, bishop to c4, bishop to e3, and we castle. And these pieces here in this configuration is about what you're going to get in most of your games. Obviously, depending on what Black does, it might differ a little bit, but for the most part, this should be what you get. And yeah, also if they play this queen to d6, then we have all the same moves as I just showed you. So, that's all you really need to know for this queen to d6 and queen to d8 action. However, they can also, before they even take the pawn, they don't have to take back immediately. They can play knight to f6, and the point of this is that they're trying to take back with their knight. So that way, if we play this move knight to c3, it will not come on tempo with their queen. The move I recommend here is pawn to d4, and the point of this is that after they take back the pawn with their knight, we will play pawn to c4, they move back, and we play knight to c3, and this is about the setup you'll get here. Bishop to e2, we're going to castle, and we just have a nice little position here. And, you know, this configuration, moving this c-pawn up first and then putting our knight behind it, is very good in these types of situations, and I'm sure you'll have a lot of success with it, just like I do. That's really all I need to know for those lines. So now we'll move on to the main line, queen to a5, and more importantly, this nice little gambit here, b4. This is known as the Leonhardt Gambit, and the point of it is that after they take their pawn, or after they take our pawn, we will get this b file in the future, we get lots of development, and this queen for them really is nothing more than just a target for us. So, first off, if they don't take our pawn, if they get scared and back off, then simply rook to b1 and knight to f3, and we just act like this pawn isn't here, and, you know, we're just up on development a little bit, and this is a very nice position. White is better here. So, pretty much the only move for them to have any sort of advantage is to take, at which point we play this move, knight to b5. This attacks this pawn here, which would be a fork of their king and rook, so they have to prevent it. And, you know, at first glance, this might look at just some, like, you know, elementary little threat, like they can just prevent it, and then our gambit is trash. However, I assure you there are many traps here, and they're all very great. So, they really only have one move to defend it, which is queen to a5, defending it like this. The only really other serious option they have here is knight to a6, defending it like this, at which point after knight to c3, or knight to f3, c6, very important move you need to know here is knight to a3. I looked at it on Lichess, there have only been 9 moves in this position, and white actually has a 100% success rate. They've won every single game here. And this is a very hard position to play with play with Black. Even though they have, technically according to the engine, they have an advantage. This is very hard to play with Black here. The only move for them to retain any real advantage is queen to a4, which is so that's some alien move that only computer would see. I can guarantee you'll never get that. And it's much more likely for something to happen, you know, like bishop to g4, at which point we can, you know, take their knight. They have to take back. We'll get this open file in the future, and yep, this is just great. Yeah, so if I go back here, once again, the only move they really have here that's good is queen to a5, defending their pawn like this, at which point we play this move bishop to c4 here, and this is absolutely insane statistic here. So for most gambits and traps, the actual trap only happens maybe like 5% of the time in games, or maybe 10% if it's a really good trap. To put it lightly here, in this position, the trap here comes 56% of the time. Out of 9,000 games, 56% of them fell into the trap, which is, like, for traps and gambits, that is an astounding number. That's crazy, completely unheard of. And the trap here is pawn to c6, which just looks like insanely natural, or also pawn to h6 also falls in the same trap. Because it looks like, we will have to move our knight back. Black will get some, development going. This isn't very good for us. However, this is completely losing for white. I'll give you a second to try and find the move. It's just completely incredible. The move here is bishop takes on f7. Insane move. I'm about to explain it all, but at first glance this looks completely crazy. How could this be winning for white at all? However, every single thing that black does here is completely losing. First of all, almost everybody will end up taking this bishop here. However, the best move is actually king to d8. And if they play this, then we just move our knight back, and now we're just much better because the material's even now. But now they obviously can't castle, and they have no pieces developed except this sad queen. So they will take it, and now we play this move queen to h5 check, checking their king. And also, what's important to see here is that we're lining up against their queen, and there's nothing that they can do. If they play a move like g6, then this x-ray becomes super powerful, and we immediately win with knight to d6 check. We check their king, and we reveal this attack on their queen. So if they take back, for example, then we would just take their queen, and now we're just completely winning, up queen for a knight. That's great. And there's nothing else they can do. All the other responses also fall into a similar trap. If they run to e6, then knight to d4, and once again we get this. And if they move to f6, then this is even worse. After bishop to b2 check, they have to block with e5. We will take it with our queen. If they move their king back to f7, then once again we have this. So they have to go to g6, at which point after queen to e8 check, their king has to go to h6. We will take their bishop, and after they take our knight, we have queen takes on g7. And, after they move their king, we can win their rook in the corner and then win their knight, or this is actually checkmate 4 if you're up for the challenge. Needless to say, this is completely winning, and you can always win this. Incredible trap. I really hope you get it in your games. I've had it a couple times before. Absolutely brilliant. Alright, so anyways, if black does actually get through that landmine of a trap there and doesn't fall into the 56% of games that lose immediately, the only really good move for them is to play knight to f6 and just develop like this knight and just isn't even there. In this scenario, we will play knight to f3, they'll move their pawn to e6, we will castle, they move pawn to a6, and we just move our knight back to the center. And yes, we are still down a pawn here. However, this really isn't that bad for us because for that one pawn, we have 2 extra pieces developed. We're castled. In the future, we will get this open file. And they have really just very little development, at least compared to us. And yeah, this is just a great position. Alright, so that is all I really have for you today. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you have a great day. Like, subscribe, do all that stuff. And I will see you next time.